Mike Cardano with Roto Experts in the Fantasy Sports Network, here with our top tournament daily fantasy plays for Week 14 as we strive to find NFL players with big upside and potential low ownership to help you separate from the field and climb your tournament leaderboard in daily fantasy. Now that you've finished your Turkey Day leftovers and started your holiday shopping, it is time to find a quarterback for this weekend's tournaments that's low owned with high upside. Now, Cam Newton is a bit of a long shot as a tournament option, and he's struggled a lot this season, getting very little help from his offensive line, his coaching staff, his receiving core, and battling his own accuracy issues. Still, he could pay big dividends in Week 14. Due to those struggles and some similarly high upside quarterbacks in this price range, he'll be very low owned. Newton may not make good on his upside often, but it's still there. He's a threat to run for 40-plus yards and a touchdown any week, and should be dropping back to pass often as a 10-point underdog against the Saints' pass defense that's ranked 27th according to Football Outsiders, and has Pro Football Focus's worst pass coverage grade. Fred Jackson is not your typical high-risk, high-reward option, but he fits that mold this week. There's a chance that the Bills aren't able to do much this Sunday against a good Broncos defense. However, if they have just moderate success on the offensive side of the ball, it will be centered around Jackson. As Jackson has gotten healthier, the Bills have moved away from their timeshare at running back. Last week, he saw a season-high 70% of the team's carries and a season-high 70% of the team's red zone opportunities. Now, Jackson is also very skilled in pass catching out of the backfield, and he may rack up a bunch of short catches in a game where the Bills are expected to throw a lot from behind. That's not something new for opposing running backs against Denver, as they allow 7.7 targets per game to running backs, the most in the NFL. Jackson may not have the big playability that we typically identify with tournament options, but if he catches 6 passes and finds the end zone, a reasonable expectation given his workload, anything else will just be gravy. Normally, I don't like to risk pairing a wide receiver with Russell Wilson in tournaments since he can spread the ball around so well and he really doesn't throw that often. This week though, I think taking a chance on Jermaine Kearse, either paired with Wilson or by himself, makes sense. He has a 21.4% market share of targets the past 5 weeks and has exceeded 20% in 4 of those contests. That market share is important in a matchup against Philadelphia, who should force Seattle to throw a bit more. The Eagles' fast-paced offense leaves their defense allowing the 6th most pass attempts per game. Now, the Seahawks are 1-point underdogs, which could leave them throwing a bit more than usual as well. Now, Kearse projects to line up against Philadelphia's Bradley Fletcher more than any other defender this week. Fletcher is 104th out of 117 defenders in Pro Football Focus's pass coverage grades. While we generally like to avoid buying high-end guys, there's evidence that Donte Moncrief's big Week 13 was more than just a flash in the pan. Moncrief is second among NFL wide receivers with 12.8 yards per target, as he has hauled in 6 catches of 20 yards or more on just 33 targets. Aside from being able to stretch the field vertically, Moncrief has the size we look for out of a potential number 1 wide receiver, standing at 6 foot 2 inches and weighing 221 pounds. He lacks consistent production because he lacks volume, but that could be changing. Moncrief's percentage of snaps played the past 3 weeks have risen from 17% to 39% to 53%, with Joe Hayden likely shadowing T.Y. Hilton and Reggie Wayne and Hakeem Nicks 1 step away from turning into a corpse. Moncrief could see the necessary volume in Week 14 to let his big playability shine once again. Jared Cook averages 5.92 targets per week, but a standard deviation of targets is 3.32, a pretty high number given Cook's low overall volume. Now follow me. That makes Cook just as likely to receive 8+ targets as it does having him receive 3 or less. In cash games, that's a risky proposition. In tournaments, I see a ton of potential reward in landing a minimum price tight end with a reasonable chance of 8 or more targets, particularly given the matchup. Football Outsiders has Washington's defense ranked dead last in the pass and 27th in DVOA against tight ends. Now, after accounting for strength of schedule, Washington is allowing the second most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Cook ranks 8th among tight ends in yards per catch, with one of the names ahead of him, Colby Fleener, who absolutely scorched Washington last week. For more in-depth analysis on top tournament daily fantasy plays during the season, head on over to rotoexperts.com and sign up for the Daily Fantasy Football Package. Our experts Drew Dinkmeyer and Mike Leone get you ready each week with strategy articles, site-specific cheat sheets, and recommendations that highlight the top value plays each week and send you updated injury information right to your inbox with our lineup alerts feature. Become a member of the Daily Fantasy Rundown team at rotoexperts.com by signing up for the Daily Fantasy Football Package. For Roto Experts and the Fantasy Sports Network, I'm Mike Cardano.